Well, hello once again, everyone. Welcome back to part 5 of our little journey into the world of Firefly.
Hello.
Hello once again. Yeah, so this week, we are doing episode number 5, which is Safe.
Yes.
And I guess because it's kind of expected of me, I will give you my initial thoughts since I'm the one who's like coming into Firefly kind of fresh and not having experienced it before, but having just briefly watched the episode before we did this little watch through. This is obviously a very, River and Doctor kind of focused episode. It's all about like their backstory and their current relationship, and it's nice. Like it's some much needed context, I suppose, for them as characters, because they're probably the ones that have had the least attention so far from a narrative point of view and from a backstory point of view. So I think it was about time we got to learn a bit more about them, and especially about her. So it's nice to see a bit more of that, I suppose.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's going to get to a point where we're going to need some more information on them, because they are the intrigue that's been set really early on. And you get bits and bobs for everyone else throughout the episode, but I would say that they seem to be the A plot. You get a lot on them, and you get some flashbacks. Meanwhile, an interesting B plot regarding Shepherd Book.
Yeah. I think probably the best thing to do is like fire it up and let's get stuck right into this so we can start watching it and talking as we go. So I guess we'll count us down. And if you guys are watching at home and you've got your copy of Firefly episode 5 ready to go, I will start us in 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So this is where we get
look at that sci-fi gate.
Yeah, laser fence. So this is their family home from 11 years earlier.
Were you shocked to see who this was?
So I don't specifically know who he is, but he really looks like the Doctor, which is impressive.
Interesting. He's Zac Efron.
Right, okay. My God, I forget how old this show is, and then I see him.
Not only is he Zac Efron, this is his first on-screen role.
Wow.
Ain't that fun?
This is before Zac Efron became like the Incredible Hulk of actors. Like, because you've probably seen him in Iron Claw as well. Like, dude was gigantic.
He's honestly achieved a lot as an actor. Obviously, he wasn't, because he was in High School Musical, right?
I believe so, yeah. And he was in Greatest Showman.
Well, everyone who was in High School Musical they had the Twilight effect of no one's going to take you seriously. But then he did the thing a lot of actors do, which is he's done enough roles impressively now that it's like, no, he's like a full-on really good actor.
But you know what I mean? Like, I obviously didn't know it was Zac Efron, didn't quite twig, but he does look a lot like the Doctor, like the older version of him.
Yeah, it's good casting.
There was one thing I noticed about this episode, actually, like, because we talked before, I think, about how like the culture of Earth is a kind of mixture of like Chinese and American and a few other sort of cultures. Like they've become like the dominant superpowers. And so you get like a lot of Chinese language peppered into common dialect. This episode is the one that really dials it up to 11. Like there's so much of it, whereas it had been very, very light up until now.
I think they genuinely, as far as I'm aware, they always wanted to try and make it feel like if any line came out that felt naturally could have any kind of switch, they would try and interpret it that way, or try experimenting with different stuff. I know that like the swear words had that effect, right? If they felt comfortable that there would be a swear word in a sentence, like, all right, we'll get one of our fake ones in there.
Yeah.
It's hard to know for sure, right, where a particular thing should go. And I will say as well, that flashback among many, I do enjoy their purpose in this episode, being the big argument this episode makes is just how much Simon has sacrificed for her, basically.
Yeah. And like he's quite literally willing to burn to death for her.
Yeah,
by
that's
the end.
the big payoff by the end, which I think is very much thematically on point with how they build all of this up. And I really like that he gets a moment. She has her moments of clarity. We start in here with how annoying, how awkward it is to take care of her, but he will come through for her no matter what. And then that she does know that somewhere down there in her head, even though she's a complete chaos.
Yeah.
And yeah, just again carving out more of any individual two people's dynamic when we go forward with bigger ensemble events. It just helps you care about everyone.
I think particularly with characters like these, where like he seems to have this incredible devoted loyalty to her, and some of it can be explained by the fact that they're siblings and stuff. Like he obviously does love her as a sister, but there's an element of guilt as well. The fact that she was taken away, sent off to this institute, experimented on, and he didn't do enough to try and prevent it.
Yeah, like that he failed as a brother.
Yeah, and he feels that responsibility of having failed her and didn't protect her, and now he's desperate to try and make amends for that.
Yeah, I mean, the flashback, obviously we'll get it later, but the realization of the difference between himself and his dad, that the status, the power, the money, the respect, it comes above the safety of the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Which it just separates him from his dad permanently at that point. And it's not something, as with a lot of characters, it won't be something he displays to people. This is all stuff, all sacrifices he's made, and he's not interested in being thanked or celebrated for it. It's something he feels was right.
Yeah, well, it's a very personal thing, I suppose, with their family history, and that's fine. We get to see it. We understand it. I always really enjoy the intro, like the theme tune for this.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I love the lyrics. And I don't know, man, I got a soft spot for credits like this. The showing the face, giving the name,
yeah,
pieces from the show. It's very much the era I was growing up. They did this all the time.
Nice and old school.
And not to say I don't love modern TV show intros. A lot of them are very expensively created to have like abstract visuals that fully represent what the show is all about, or something. With
House of the Dragon's a great one.
Yeah. But like I said, soft spot for some ones like this.
Do you ever watch? I think it was like Lost, right? But it's like Lost if it was made in the 90s, and it was like that proper kind of Baywatch style intro for it, like with the characters just goofing around and smiling at the camera and stuff.
It's funny looking back on Lost's intro, because I appreciated it at the time as just the show was basically just intrigue the show. You'll never quite know exactly what's always happening, and obviously that kind of killed it, which was something they expected, I think, was going to happen eventually, if they didn't have good answers. But having them all land and just mysterious shit was happening, and then that intro plays, it's always unsettling. It's like, we're not. No matter how much you think you've sorted things out, you haven't.
Well, it was always just different. It was a show that you could never get the measure of, and so it didn't play by the normal rules. And yeah, man, I remember. I'm old enough to remember like the hype around the first few seasons and just how gripping it was. Like, oh my god, this like every episode is just giving us new mysteries, but like every time we get an answer, we get more questions on top of it. It was great. It's such a great format, and tied into like really good character work and some great use of flashbacks and some great performances. Like it had the killer formula. They just didn't know how to end it.
I remember loving The Hatch. All right.
Yes.
I think that it was they try to recreate it going forward, and it doesn't work as well.
Yeah. Oh, that episode when Locke is just pounding on it, and you get like the flashbacks to when he got betrayed. But oh man, that was some
powerful stuff. Good thing. I do recommend at least like the first season. I can't remember how much further it goes before it starts to fall off, but it's funny. I do the same for Heroes, do the same for Westworld, do the same for Stranger Things, but then also skip to season 4.
Yeah. I like it. This I feel like this dialogue here is just to explain the fact that they're using really shitty props, like because it's all they've got.
Well, so this is the thing I didn't realize, but because sometimes I like to look into any trivia to see if there's anything of interest. There's a point to what they just did there, apparently, which is she says the wooden statue thing. It like is what is it supposed to be? And she says it's supposed to be a swan when it looks like a duck. There's a Chinese saying: a badly painted tiger looks like a dog. A badly carved swan looks like a duck. And the meaning is sometimes it's better to not do a thing than to do a thing badly.
Okay.
So apparently there's all that behind that's why that's there. It's just like, okay,
oh well, you know what? I'll just retract everything I just said there. Then.
like I said, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I would assume that you were right that they would have grabbed whatever they could to populate this room, so to speak. But there's a lot of purpose, right? Like I like her disappointment in realizing that Simon doesn't know what basic working tools are, like what they do.
Well, no, she just seems kind of amused by that because it's like her element. But then this plate, obviously, she was so pleased by, thinking it's going to be a great gift. Like
I was going to say, it could be interpreted certainly as a cute factor, but it's compounded with the. A lot of this seems to be that he's from a different class, right? It's definitely a class difference between those two.
Yeah.
Something that looks pretty and cool to her is cheap and shit to him. The ship is shit to him, and no recognition of like hardworking tools and what they're for. It all compounds into you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But obviously what we know, and she doesn't, is that he's stressed out, he's desperately trying to make things work, and these are all just casual comments that he's really not thinking about.
And I think from her point of view, like, because she is attracted to him, she's trying to find like some kind of common ground that they can meet on, and like she's just coming up, she's just basically hitting a blank every time. Like, nope.
Yeah, they're not
everything that I like. He doesn't.
And I mean, and she has an extrapolation here that's kind of fair, and it's a bit awkward.
Yeah, but is that? I suppose that unfortunate realization, like someone that you might be attracted to, like maybe if you've got nothing in common with them, there's no point even pursuing it because it's just not going to go anywhere.
You have to imagine, right? Like he's dealing with River constantly. He doesn't want to have to deal with that too. He just pissed her off without even realizing he'd done that.
Yeah.
It's like a problem he needs to solve now on top of everything else. But River comes first with everything for him. It's just such a funny image of him walking past all the shits on his... shit. You know those would all be CG today.
CGI shit. I had high hopes when I got into like the animation business. Like now I'm just animating turns.
They would have to send a friend a message at that point. It's like, I really have hit rock bottom in my job of animating shit. There was a line earlier as well I quite appreciated in regards to the cattle where River said inside the ship they weren't cows. Once they saw the sky, they remembered what they were.
Yeah, I think even Mal comments like, oh, that's a pretty good way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, he says, is it weird that I understand exactly what she's saying?
I like his line here to Preacher as well. It's like, we'll agree on 25. It's like he knows how this is going to go. You are in Frontiers Town with electric cars driving around.
Yep.
It's great. You notice all the newspaper clippings behind him are in Chinese.
It's the thing. There was a surprising amount of effort that went into this show. A lot of passion.
Spinning such bullshit to them. Seem like clean and virtuous boys.
Finally, they found the killers of Rance Durbin.
Yeah, I was getting worried about that.
Nothing ever goes right.
I was suddenly getting weird flashbacks to Midsummer, the movie. Like, oh god, there's going to be a pie made out of pubic hair next.
Oh, yeah. Well, the wholesome note on this is and I knew this as well, I think, because of Angel. Summer Glau, the actress for River, she turns up in Angel and she's doing ballerina stuff. And she's doing it so well that it's like, no way that they managed to like CG her face onto all of that. So is she like a ballerina? It's like, yeah, she's like an expert dancer in real life. So this is just fun for her to do.
Ah.
I have to imagine if you get to know your actors and you know they have special skill sets that are kind of impressive, but there's just no format for them in the TV show, you got to wonder if there's like a sense of, I'll find a way. I'll get it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, if I knew an actor, like they could juggle or something or do like cartwheels, it's like, I'll find a reason for them to do it.
Oh, no. Zoe was at the ready the whole time. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. I feel like she, she hasn't had a huge amount to do in this show so far. Like, not really had any major storylines to herself. But she's just like a solid, dependable second in command. Just kind of always ready to stay.
Feel like that's her role. Very much reliable crewmate.
Does she get much in the way of storylines? Like, I don't want you to spoil it, obviously.
Well, so yeah, in the sense that an episode that more so gives you insights into a character, I'd say you definitely got that to come. It's just that as you know, this is the 5th episode of 14. You're already, I'm not going to say you're running out of content already, but you kind of in a way are. It's like you've seen a lot of it in a way. It's just the unfortunate reality of everything they could have done.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's genuinely the compounding sort of, not only did this have loads of potential, but they were already coming through on it with the limited time they had. So you just feel as though it's such an easy bank to let them continue.
Yeah, frustrating. I mean, I guess they're bound by the laws of supply and demand. And if there's
I mean, speaking of bank, they didn't make bank, so.
Yeah. And the preacher's been hit.
Always a great bit of drama in your story to have a shootout, and unexpectedly as well, you have a stray bullet hit a friendly because of it's kind of, you don't expect anything bad to go wrong here. It's the like police equivalent versus some fugitives. Our characters are going to be fine. It's like, no, they're not actually.
Yeah. Well, this is the second time this has happened in this show already.
I like that line too. The lots of blood means you ain't dead, so it's all good. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Do you catch that as well? He said, I'm going to need a preacher. And he says, great, you're being ironical. Always a neat visual having blood attached to any money. Makes you think.
Yeah.
And yeah, always fun to establish secondary skill sets. So Zoe and Mal are probably going to have some experience with war wounds.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of assume like they've been through it all.
There's no need to make a big thing of it. It's just something that you need to keep in mind with a character that you write a certain level of history of, right? It's like, oh, they probably would know how to do this.
yeah, so the episode's establishing like they can do the basics to stabilize him, but like really he needs a proper doctor, and they don't have their doctor because he's just been kidnapped.
This is always a fun way of doing it as well. So like we would assume they want her to be able to send messages out from wherever she is, but they're obviously going to check them to make sure she's not said anything compromising, and so she's found a way to almost encode them.
And like her parents are so detached from her that like they don't even notice, or they've been bribed into like not noticing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're too obsessed with their own image, right? That's what we learn in these flashbacks. I think even if they were to entertain something was wrong, they kind of don't want to.
I'm getting slight vibes out of Hot Fuzz here. Like, is there anything to be said for it being an accident?
Murder, murder, murder. Change the fucking record.
Am I losing my mind here?
Especially more fun to watch that now, knowing that's Viserys Targaryen who's dressing him down.
Yeah. The Andes.
For anyone who doesn't know, me and Drink are very fond of Hot Fuzz.
We are indeed, yeah. We covered it at length, in fact. Check it out. I mean, God bless him for his effort. They're like, where the fuck's she gonna go? Like, she doesn't even understand what's going on.
It's just over. She's already there. So
it's interesting he recognizes that.
It's once again, because I know what it is, the writing is just 110% fucking golden with everything Mal does and says. So we've got him being the only person here to defend the character of the Doctor, despite being the person that probably dislikes him the most, and simultaneously being the one to choose to abandon him immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, how do you like keep all of that in check? It's like, well, the reality is he has learned who the Doctor is as a character. He does believe that he wouldn't make the decision that they're implying, but whatever has happened, whatever the Doctor's doing, Mal can't deal with it because it'll cost Shepard his life.
Yeah.
So he'll be back, but that's the choice to make, right? Like, we could quibble and we could find as much information as we can on Simon, but the more time that's spent doing that, the more likely Book dies. So
yeah,
I like that he makes that executive decision of, we're going to use all the time we have to save him immediately, and we'll deal with this situation when we're back.
Yeah, it's like you give a character a lesser of two evils kind of situation. Like, it ultimately comes down to like their ability to prioritize. I did like the timing of that dialogue there as well. Like, oh, don't worry, Matt will be back for us. And then like straight away it cuts to the ship leaving.
But I just appreciate how quickly the decision is made, how we can recognize why it would be, and then he knows he has to keep everyone in line on that one because they're probably not going to understand it fully.
Yeah.
Appreciate little lines like that. She's trying to, not let him know he's basically dying. And I like this too, right? So Inara is going to suggest going to the Alliance, but she does it vaguely enough that he thinks she's talking about the Doctor, which is obviously on Mal's mind, that he's abandoned him. See how it's a way for the writer to get across to you why he made the decision he made, but simultaneously shows someone else about what's going on in his head.
And he's still preoccupied with him, and that's his first port of call.
And the thing is, I don't think he even entertained going to the Alliance because he fucking hates them so much. Unfortunately, he's running out of options. So I mean, the even though that's arguably the B plot, it's got really interesting stuff in it.
Yeah, well, again, it's all consistent with his character and what we know about him, and it keeps it that going. Gives him a tough decision to make.
And I mean, we talk about all this stuff. It's not easy to make consistent 40-minute stories that do this level of work, especially with this was made by Mutant Enemy in the same span of a year that they made a season of Buffy and a season of Angel. We're talking 22 episodes in both of those, 14 for this. That's an insane amount of work.
Imagine trying to do that today.
You can't even fucking have more than 6 episodes per season now. it's horrible.
Yeah,
I think they forgot the benefit of the 22 episode season. I don't know if they, because it was more so a format requirement based on what they were doing in the year, right? It's television programming. We need you to fill this slot.
And it's budgetary as well because things are so expensive to make now. And it's all about spectacle, and they've really killed that idea of episodic TV as well, which is, I miss that so fucking much.
I love TV's ability to slow burn you through getting to know people so well, so that then payoffs can hit you really hard. But nowadays we have the 6 to 8 to 10s, and then of the worst of them, you have episodes that you could just outright skip because there's nothing in them, or characters that don't have characters. We've referenced all kinds of Star Wars ones. Ahsoka is just on my mind right now as being we went through so much of it, and I was like, I don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, I think that's for me the real strength of episodic television storytelling, in that you can put your characters into novel situations that test them in different ways outside of the main narrative, and really expose things about them that you might not know, or that you might never have expected. It allows you to do so much so easily.
Yeah, and you get to kind of experiment. You get to be like, hey, what if we made an episode where nobody could speak? What if we make an episode where they all switch personalities? And you may think well, some of those are the greatest episodes of seasons of all time. It's exactly. You never know where it'll come from.
Some of it's goofy as fuck, like Farscape. What if they were all cartoon characters, like Looney Tunes, for an episode?
So is there one as well? No, they get real wacky in season 4.
There's one where John gets transported into a video game, and Erin's a princess, and Grace is a troll and stuff. And Erin, like Claudia Black, really tears the arse out of it with a Southern belle kind of accent.
I remember even as a kid, kind of being this show's different.
It really was, yeah. Sometimes it was different in all the right ways, and sometimes, it went a bit wrong. I like this as well. These guys who kidnapped him, they're not criminals necessarily. They're just desperate people who need a doctor to help.
They need help, yeah. Well, I love the back and forth he has about the nature of having been kidnapped, right? Because she's a bit religious, so she sees it as it's easy to interpret this as your life path now. And he's like, no, it's not. This isn't anything I chose. And she's like, yes, but make of it what you will. And he's like, no. It's kind of funny, even for episode 5, we're like, oh, these fuckers again. Okay.
And this is where we learn a few things about Book.
It's just a solid way to get a payoff in. It's wait a minute, because we think he's a humble preacher, but then he's got a history that's strong enough that these guys desperately want to get him medical attention when they just established they were happy for him to die.
And I knew they weren't going to say anything specific. Yeah. It was just going to be right, get him to the med bay.
I mean, this isn't necessarily to imply anything about the future of the story. It's just that I think at this point you'd wonder, was he like a high-ranking member of Alliance? Is that what his history was? And he tried to sort of, maybe he did something or experienced something, and he wanted to explore a different way of living for a bit. I think it's fun too because there's a line that references it, right? Like everyone's got some kind of history. They say that in a minute, but feels like Mal's history is what the show opens on, and we get it pretty quickly. The whole, he rebelled against the Alliance. He was unsuccessful, and now he works against them in his own way. All that sort of stuff. Very, very interesting character. But all of his crew, we just keep getting told that it's like, by the way, you don't know this whole stuff that's to do with them that's going to come out eventually, and it's just kind of a really workable dynamic of having the information pour out gradually, but simultaneously your main character, not a huge set of realizations we're going to have for him, but he's so fucking interesting on his own. It all flows.
Yeah, and like each of these characters is like a little gold mine that you can keep exploring, delving a little deeper with each episode. And yeah, like Mel's like they've got the perfect balance of like dependable, capable, intelligent hero with quite a lot of depth and nuance and a bit of moral flexibility to him as well, which makes him an interesting character to explore.
I always assume it's deliberate. By the way, we had it in House of the Dragons had a couple of these examples, but the camera cut to a strict shot of Jane when the line "They ain't never who they claim to be" was said. It's like, does the camera have opinions?
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean it's sometimes easy to overlook, but it's like everything that happens on screen is intentional. Everything that the director chooses to show us is intentional. And if they choose to show us a certain character reacting to a certain line, it's for a very specific reason. I did like the fact that Jane was immediately looting all the Doctor's stuff.
Yeah.
Thinking he was gone.
So I mean, they tend not to miss a moment to keep telling us who these people are.
And she's going through a lucid moment where she actually is herself.
Yeah, and it's like, this is big time the girl he is trying to save, and she's buried under so much trauma, desperate to find a way to help her, doesn't even know what's wrong with her, and which is especially frustrating for him considering he's a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, like, because I think it would have been quite easy to make her just a bit annoying with all her, like, psychotic breakdowns and stuff, but, like, I'm just very intrigued to know what her purpose is. What were they doing to her? What was their end goal? And what can she actually do if she's able to utilize whatever they've done to her?
Well, it won't be long before you get the full story, and you'll likely join myself, Gary, Fringy, Az in the team of, man, that Firefly. Some good shit.
I mean, I'm kind of there already, to be fair, but I think it'll just solidify as I go.
That's it's honestly very good news, because like my favorite installment of the whole thing is obviously going to be it's the end, so sounds like it probably will be for you as well. It's I just think it was really important to give them moments like this instead of making her, as you kind of imply, there's like, if she was just constantly annoyingly insane, it would make the audience struggle to care about what's underneath.
Yeah, like we need to see what he's actually fighting for.
It's kind of funny, right? Because it's like, oh, they their religion gives them community and strength, and she's got a lot of hopeful and supportive things to say. They're like, oh god, she's a fanatic. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, it twice it subverts your expectations because they're kidnapped and you think,
Yeah.
oh, okay, they're just bandits or something. But no, they're good people who just want like a doctor to help the sick and needy. And then it's like, okay, they're just settling into that. You think you understand things, and then boom, they're actually religious fanatics, and they're going to burn her at the stake for being a witch.
I quite like Simon as well. Just he thinks like, oh, I should probably try to explain this in a way that's understandable as to what. And then he's like, wait, oh shit, you look like scared. Listen, maybe don't burn the witches. You let them heal your people and then burn them.
Yeah, or can you just send them away?
Simon just like,
Is that good?
you guys believe in witches? I had to leave your mother at dinner. It's like, okay. It's a good line there as well. I didn't realize it would be so easy. And you get very limited flashbacks here, but we've got a really big chunk of the story. We've understood something pretty fundamental about Simon now, thanks to it. It's just good work.
Well, yeah, and it's like this has filled in all the stuff he's been trying to do. Now he's sacrificing his connections with his dad, and he's basically getting disowned now. But it's more important to him to try and save River.
Yeah, and obviously when we met him, and up to what we know now, he's actually sacrificed everything. He's on the run. He's got no life to live, no money to work with, there's no connections left. Just desperately trying to keep her safe.
What's going on, woman?
Why are you waking me up by nap time? I thought this part's quite funny in terms of he's like, I'm the friendly man who's going to take care of you. Just tell me what's going on. Then she's like, you murdered the past dude. He's like, this witch.
Yeah, yeah.
She spins falsehoods.
It's like, boy, that escalated fast.
You know that there's one guy who's like, she was lying, right? you wouldn't have.
You didn't really kill him, did you?
I like the idea that he worked on that lie for a while. It's like, yeah, not that good.
But not now.
Some more intrigue. Simpler, but is it the right thing to do?
Burn her.
Man, it would suck being burned for a superpower you have, you know?
I mean, I think it would just be, it would suck being burned generally. I think in terms of all the different ways you can go, that's got to be one of the most
Oh,
unpleasant.
yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, like, you're not only getting burned, but you're also being burned for something that should have afforded you probably benefits, not burning.
Yeah.
But how unfortunate.
If only your power was being able to manipulate fire or something, you could just make it like shoot out towards other people.
Yeah, like Pyro.
Yeah, it's like, he tried to burn me. Well, I'm going to burn you. The irony.
And you'd fuck with them a bit. You'd be like, God protects me. If you try to burn me, he'll burn all of you. Starting with the most ugly. The ugly people are like, oh no.
There'll always be that guy who's in denial, like, I'm not ugly. Yeah.
I'm very handsome. I'll be fine. Kind of shows you the, I guess, zeal of the village, too. They need him. And they're like, yeah, we'll just fucking burn you too, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, they're straight up warning him there.
A very good relief of the team arriving.
Yeah.
Quite like a lot of the dialogue here as well. The arrive in the nick of time. What does that make us? Big damn heroes, sir. Ain't we just?
It's like they practiced that together.
Yeah. And the what he says, the girl is a witch, and she's like, yeah, but she's our witch, so cut her the hell down. They're all just great Mal lines.
Damn, a nickel-plated shotgun. That looks cool as fuck. I do like this as well. Jane's like, oh fuck, they're coming back. Time to dump their stuff.
Hey.
Nailed it.
So yeah, with this moment, the you're on my crew thing, the way I take it to mean with him is that it's like you could make crew a stand-in for family, and there's a lot of parts to it that would be like the love of the people that are here, but also a responsibility for them. Like if you've agreed to be a part of this, then he is going to ensure your safety, like as a point of respect and honor of the position he holds. But at the same time, he expects you to fall in, you know?
Well, yeah, and just like family, you know, you might not always get along with them day to day. Like you might argue, they might piss you off or whatever, but you're loyal to them because it transcends just petty arguments. And
the impression I get with it is like if you can't harm any of these crew unless Mal says it's okay first. It's like no matter how much he hates any of them, it's just that's how it works. They're his, respect that shit. It's the captain of a boat, that sort of stuff, and I just it's always enjoyable watching the payoffs arrive from stuff like that.
And what a nice way to round out the episode. Everyone gathered around the dinner table. Good stuff.
And so closes episode 5.
Yeah, it's just another strong episode. Like, there's obviously a running theme with a lot of these. Like, each one's kind of focusing in on a different pairing of characters, just giving us a bit more meat on the bone with each of them, giving us some more time with them, exploring them, and doing a really good job with it. It's another strong episode. gives us a lot to think about with the river and the dock. So
it's all building up, but it's fun for the journey it is as well. It's just it's what we call a TV show.
it is. It's a well-written TV show, knows what it's doing, and yeah, I find myself now settling into that confident zone of like, each episode I think is going to give me something good. I feel like I have that confidence in the show that it's going to deliver each time, and so it's a lot easier to enjoy it when you feel that way.
A fun tidbit for you, I guess, is you have seen now what's considered the worst episode of Firefly. Do you know what it is?
Episode 3?
No.
Oh, interesting.
It is
what
episode
is it?
5.
Really?
It's I'm not going to say that's the notion that I hear from people generally. It's just that's what the ratings. It tends to be this one's the lowest.
Okay.
Which it's.
That's surprising.
I think it's a really solid one, but at the same time, I do think the whole season is solid. So it's, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the phrasing. Like, worst is perhaps a strong one. Maybe it's just like the least excellent or whatever. The least
the reassurance I would take from it is that that means that if that's the skill flaw, is like, well, I guess we're in for a good ride then.
Yeah, because I wasn't bored during that one. I think there was plenty going on to chew on. Both from a plot and a character point of view, so I was okay with it. Yeah, like I say, I think perhaps I might have picked episode 3 just on the basis that it's quite slow from a pacing point of view. But yeah, okay.
Well, and this will be for the next, so to speak, batch, but you'll be going through. I think it's Our Miss Reynolds, Janestown, and Out of Gas, which 2 of those are fan favorites. So,
ooh, okay.
I'll
look forward to that one. But as for the rest of you guys who have joined us for this episode, well, I hope you got some entertainment out of us and our thoughts on it, even if we went off on tangents at times. But it's been good fun. Hopefully we've given you guys some entertainment as we've gone through. And I suppose tune in next time where we'll be covering episode 6. Ooh. But for now, today, that's all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.